everybody doing? Hi, how you doing? Welcome, happy Monday-ish to everybody. I'm not quite sure if we're at the point where Monday means what it should mean to you anymore, or if you just kind of assume. I didn't open my little window for my chat. That needs to. I have to enter in my login information. I don't know why. Anyways, I'll see the chat in a second. I can see it over here. I just can't see it over there. Anyways, hi, how are you? So Mondays, I'm not quite sure. I mean, they're creeping back. We're starting to have the experience of Mondays again. It's kind of fantastic. I think for a while, people will savor what they used to hate about Mondays in a way that they will. It'll take a long time for people to give a crap about Fridays again in a way that they're like, oh great, a day when I could go home and not be around all these people. It used to be appealing, and now there we are. Hi. So there's obviously a lot going on. I'm shooting for Sexy Liberal this week and doing all my craziness. And why does it want me to click on what chimneys are? Okay, I am me. I'm not a robot. So, hey, the chat's open. Now I can see it. So, this is going to be I know I always say this, but it's going to be a tighter show today just because of timing. And because I've more shooting to do. I bought a prop today while I had to run out, and I had an idea, and that's how this works. I had a huge idea, and then I had to go see if I can make it happen in the short time that I have. And I went and bought a prop, and now I'm too afraid to use it. You'll find out if you watch. That's all. I'm just going to tease it. I'll tell the story of it next week to everybody else. I think that'll work. In the meantime, you're a robot? Okay, good. Well, then you should have trouble logging into things, and not me. So today's show might be shorter than normal. We'll see. I know I always say that, but or at least keep it to the normal amount just so I can get back to shooting. I'm a little exhausted. Hi. Yeah, I slept 4 hours last night, and it's pretty much going to be that way for the next couple of days as we do the Sexy Liberal show, because doing all the shooting and editing myself alone, it's exhausting. It takes a lot of time, and yesterday, I literally had pre-production on an idea that I had relatively late, and so it just takes a lot of prep so I can even do the joke. So I spent all day just like cutting and creating masks in Premiere, and it's a lot. I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to the show because I can't imagine what I'm going to be saying in the next couple of days, joke-wise. So it'll be very inspiring. There will be an appearance from Karen LaKaren. There very well may be a bobcat. That's all I can say. All right, I'm not saying any more. We'll just get to our show. Now, what's the topic of today? All right. What's the big things going on now? It was the border like 4 days ago, and now it's not border. Like the infrastructure package is too big, and vaccine passports. The Biden administration, you know how we always heard about how Trump is a master of the media, right? When he basically has drive until the oil is burned out of the engine, or in the middle of like gunning it, jam it in reverse. This is his driving, right? So that's I think the best metaphor for his use of media. Whereas the Biden administration, Biden himself, recognized that for a long time there's been this kind of like follow the laser pointer thing that the media has done, and Trump used that a lot or benefited from a lot as by literally through his own incompetence and idiocy creating an emergency. And then before that emergency was dealt with, creating another emergency. And so it became this laser pointer that the media cats were all following around, groovy like that. And Biden has recognized, I think, that they can only have an appetite for one big story at a time. So the rescue package had to be all in on this. It had to be the entire story. And then the border hit, and they may have been, like the story about it, which, they conflated. They were turning it into a crisis. Ted Cruz and all these idiots go down there, kind of reminiscent in many ways of like John McCain stopping his campaign, when he was campaigning against Barack Obama in 2007, 2008. during the crash of 2008, when I think it was November or October, that kind of thing, he said, I'm stopping and he went to show how in charge he was. It's the same kind of thing. And Obama having, and Biden having dealt with this kind of thing before, Obama being new, but Biden going, this is how this stuff works. This is how these guys are. I think they recognized that as soon as they went down to the border and they're like, we got to deal with this. This is something we want to work on, but it's not the context in which we want to work on it because they're loaded for bear and they're just going to use the fact that there's a surge during the period of the year. Because what you want to do is, I don't want to give any inside stuff, but what you want to do, theoretically, is if immigration ebbs and flows during the course of the year, what you'd really want to do is produce your immigration bill during the ebb, if you're pro-immigrant. If you're anti-immigrant, you produce your immigration bill during the flow, you see. So that everybody goes, oh my God, they're all coming, we have to stop them. That's the story. That's how he was trying, like Trump was trying to get the wall financed. The problem he had was that the period getting it financed took too long, and we went into an ebb, and people didn't care, and then we went back to the flow, and it vacillated. So what Biden and them are going to do is wait until it's hot this summer and produce a bill that that they're going to get to the floor. So, but right now, as it was popping up, they were like, this is a good time to bring up infrastructure, and in bringing it up, they totally took that laser pointer to the media and made them all run over here to talk about that. There's also this story about vaccine passports, which came up, which we talked about once before, but is now becoming one of those like cancel culture claw marks that the Republicans are grasping onto because they think it plays into their freedom narrative, right? YouTube chat is disabled? Why? What'd you guys say? Why would the chat? Why would the chat be disabled? Why is the chat enable live chat? Why can't it do it? It won't let me click it. That's weird. Very odd. I'm reloading the page, seeing if I can get it. It works? It does work? Okay. I don't understand what I was trying to do that. Enable live chat. Is that alright? Could be right. Does the chat work? I see people chatting. Reload your page. I would think that maybe that's it. Could be. Could be. Who knows? Although I will say my merch thing is gone from my view right now. But that's don't worry about that. That's just YouTube stuff. I'm not concerned. Are you in Europe? Do you need an adapter? Don't we all? Chat on YouTube is set up for kids. Oh, that's what it is. Details. Monetization. Details. Whoop. This is not. Why is it set on made for kids? Cancel. Hold on one second. That's edit title and description. That's weird. Stream analytics. Viewer activity. This is the thing. Analytics stream health. Excellent stream health. This is not made for children. I don't know why it's set. Why is it set for children? How do I undo that? That's weird. I don't know. It's funny. I mean, I'm enjoying the hilarity of it. Okay. If I want to edit it, I should be able to... No, there it is. No, it's not made for kids. There we go. Changes saved. All right. Now it should be... Now I'll reload the page and hopefully... Hey, look at that. The chat arrived. Look at that. And my merch is back. That's fun. Okay. Pinning merch. There you go. That was nerve-wracking. Thanks, guys. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why anyone would ever presume that I mean to make a show for children on here. That would be ridiculous. So hi. I fixed it. Yay, it's working. Excellent. All right. So much better. So, yeah, vaccine passports. That's where I was. Vaccine passport. It's just, the overlords are gonna make us get the mark of the beast if we want to buy and sell and travel. Oh no. I mean, it's optional. And here's what I don't understand. This is the essence of my confusion about the anti-vaccine passport thing, besides the fact that Dr. Drew is a complete quack and an idiot. All the people that seem to be against it. And we'll see if my clip that I have that's about it has anything in there that's related to what I'm talking about. But the right wing, I mean, literally, Marjorie Taylor Greene is dropping that whole buy and sell kind of thing in terms of the mark of the beast. And Mike Lindell's flat out calling the vaccine the mark of the beast. Although he's saying that everybody in Israel that's gotten it now has the mark of the beast. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's just kind of baseline anti-Semitism. It's hard to keep track. But if in fact you need a vaccine passport to do certain things, you're not allowed to go do these things unless you have the vaccine passport. Why would these Christian psychopaths apparently want to go to these things if they're only filled with people that have the mark of the beast? I don't understand it. Like, that's a terrible club full of filth and evil and Satan worship and devil dancing and the devil's music, and I'm pissed because I can't get in. That in and of itself, I think, is the weirdest part. So, it's ridiculous. So here's Tucker Carlson on his new show.
I like wood.
Which is amazing.
I like wood.
You know what I mean?
Deeper and longer.
But we'll see if, Maxwell, thank you. We'll see if they have some of the similar problems or if he's just kind of, I don't know who his guest is. Tucker Carlson sits down. Former surgeon Human Norkasham to discuss the new push for vaccine passports, which Dr. Norkasham should be focused on immunity rather than vaccinations. Meaning if you've had it, you could say you had it. Mm-hmm.
So the idea of vaccine passports, which I think we're unlikely to see become a feature of federal law or federal regulation, but...
Yeah, so basically this is much ado about nothing. Okay, next clip. Yeah, so I'm good. We're good. Okay, cool. Thanks, dumbass. So Tucker, right on the top of his own segment, in the middle of bad sound. Is someone vacuuming during your show? What the hell? I mean, I know it's the Fox Nation website version of the show, and it's a way of justifying giving you a raise without giving you a raise, which is one of the ways they do it in the news business. They give you a sideshow that requires almost no prep and just an interview thing, and they pay you as if it's a major upgrade, and you basically do it, you know, on your days off or in between shows, or you stick around for an hour after the program, take off your tie and interview some rando they bring in, right? And that way, the other people in the network can ask for more money for their shows because you didn't get more money. The more money went to, it's a trick. It happens all the time. It's in a lot of shows. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, in news, that's full of this stuff. That's why they make them have podcasts and shit like that. Like, they've actually, like, peg the needle on how much money they can outlay without getting into trouble with the shareholders. So they give them a perfunctory this much amount of work to do, and then they pay them bajillions for it. So anyways, obviously he's on his new set, which is...
I like wood.
And he says the part which makes this a non-issue right away, which is that it's not going to be a regulation. It's meant to help you travel.
Much more likely to see become effective when big private sector companies enforce them. You can't fly in airplanes, for example. Yeah. Maybe you can't stay in hotels. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? Like if other countries do it and we have to interact with other countries and they have rules about stuff. It's like, I don't know, if you go to some countries in Africa and they require you to not bring tuberculosis or malaria.
That's coercive, obviously.
No, you're thinking about Matt Gaetz and the dude the football guy from Florida. It's coaxing. Is it coercive? I mean, you don't gotta go. That's the great thing about freedom. You don't have to go.
And as for the vaccine as you are, once again, you've taken it yourself. Does a vaccine passport kind of violate the principle of patient autonomy?
No. No, because you don't have to have a disease to have a vaccine. And by autonomy, I guess he means privacy in this. I mean, this is fucking dumb. But you want patient privacy if somebody has a genetic disorder, they have cancer, they have some other issue that's really not going to affect their job, but somebody might get skeeved out or weird about it, and not hire them. So we have patient confidentiality around that. But if you've had a vaccine, that's a verifiable act that you use to get your kids in school. There's no patient autonomy. Kids need to get their shots so they can go to school. There's no there's no mystery polio vaccine. As a matter of fact, it helps you.
Look, I think mandating vaccination does. Let's take some time about this vaccine passport.
Okay, so mandating taking a vaccine, like the government shows up and makes you put a shot in your arm, which is not being suggested anywhere, is not the law. And if you don't want to travel to a country where you've got to get a malaria shot or some shit like that, you don't gotta go. You have the freedom to stay the fuck home.
I think it's going to be a disaster.
Well, of course you do. I mean, that's why you're on Tucker's show. He would have invited you on if you were like, I don't know, it could be sensible. I mean, there's workarounds.
Absolute disaster. Look,
an absolute disaster. Understand this. And like literally, not only does it not work, you try to bring up the app on your phone while you're standing in customs. There's a huge line behind you. You can't get in. You're sweating. You're carrying your bag. You're like baby's crying, and you're trying to show them the thing. And every time you turn it, because how the app is, the heat of your thumb turns it off, and you keep showing them a black screen, and you can't or whatever. And then by the time you actually get it to come up, it's already expired, and you're like, fire! You have to go in that line, get another shot, and then once you do have it, like as soon as some countries are going to see it and not let you in because you've had the vaccine. So all the good countries, that would be an absolute disaster. Right? That sounds like an absolute disaster. This just sounds like an inconvenience for some travelers.
We can't even get our act together to get people to register to vote properly.
I'm sorry. We can't get our act together to get people to vote properly? You're not going to find a friend in this asshole that wants people to get registered to vote.
Good. Let me ask you.
Why is that a good point? Why? I mean, we're literally going to mass vaccination sites. You get a card. You can show it. It's registered. They have a record. You have a record. It matches the record.
Question. Who do you think's going to get excluded from this vaccine passport? It's not going to be the nice people in Naples, Florida, or Newtown, PA. No. It's going to be the good folks who live in North Philly and West Philly.
It's totally true.
It's going to be people in Washington, D.C. and in the Deep South and in
You mean black people? So you would argue that government intervention should be, they should finance the availability of it so that it makes it more available. And are you really making the case that getting a passport, which is, by the way, going to be on a phone or an app, or there'll be a variation where you can carry a physical version of it with you if you want, or it'll be attached to your driver's license, so that if you want to go someplace and you show your driver's license, you can swipe it and go, yeah, they've been vaccinated, you can go in. Like that kind of stuff where, I mean, it's 2021 for fuck's sake.
And in Western PA,
And by the way, Tucker Carlson is not concerned that he won't be able to sit next to a black person at a football game.
Don't have access, don't have the health literacy that it requires, right? It's going to...
The health literacy, asshole? The health literacy? See this card? Yeah, that shows you got the vaccine. Okay. You're going to need that to go in some places. Some businesses are going to need them. Okay. So you keep that with you. There's also, if you want, there's a little QR code. You can point your phone. We'll show you how to do it right here. And it will link you up so that you can download it anywhere you go, And then, of course, we're trying to pass a law where the record goes to your vaccination records go to your driver's license, so it makes it really easy, but these Republicans are running interference for it.
It's gonna be a disaster for...
Wait, yeah, I know. You said it was a disaster for an unmitigated disaster.
Civil rights, for equity.
No,
it's going to
totally
be a disaster.
Right.
Yeah, you're totally right, even though that was an edit. I gotta move this over because we're missing a lot of the set.
I like wood. Deeper and longer.
Okay.
But the other point I wanted to make about this
Make the other point.
vaccine passport, I think we should not call it a vaccine passport. This should be if there is any such thing ever.
Yeah, they shouldn't call it a vaccine passport, which would make people readily aware what it is. You might need it to get in someplace. You don't need a passport in the country most of the time. You need a passport to go overseas and do stuff. Occasionally, you need a photo ID or some sort of identification.
Ever. It should be an immunity passport. So
an immunity passport.
in other words, if you've had a natural infection and you can demonstrate that you have IgG levels in your blood that are
Yeah, this asshole's worried about the medical literacy or whatever of being able to figure out like that. Well, I've already had it. Okay, so what's your IG levels? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. You're complaining about the fact that they want to give a card that says, yeah, I got vaccinated on this date from this batch. And you're like, yeah, do you have the card? Yeah, they gave it to me. It's got a sticker on it. It's signed and stamped. Really? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you're not immune to the variants if you just had it. Stupid. This dude's just trying to get people killed.
are protective, or if you've been vaccinated, you should get this thing, whatever this thing is going to be.
Yeah, whatever the thing is that we're against getting, but you should get it.
Right? I don't agree with this thing ever coming
But I don't agree with it, but you should have it.
into existence. But if it's going to come into existence, it should not be a vaccine passport. It should be an immunity passport. So,
Well, it's not an immunity passport because just having it doesn't protect you from the variants, dickhead. But, a doctor would know that.
if
By the way, a former surgeon, just in case you thought, epidemiologist or currently working as...
Of course.
if my brother-in-law or my sister ended up getting COVID, and I can show you that they have 85 to 90 times the level of antibody off baseline, they're immune. Why are we forcing these people to get vaccinated on top of
Well,
it?
this
Trump had it. Trump got vaccinated. It's not going to affect you negatively. It will protect you against the variants. That's exactly why.
raises a larger question, which is why the focus on the vaccine and vaccination?
Yeah, right. Why can't we talk about just like being macho?
Focus, I imagined, of public health would be public health.
Oh, God.
But instead, the vaccine, getting the
Thanks, Robin.
vaccine, appears to be an end in itself. And I'm not alleging any kind of
Yes, you are. If you're alleging that just getting an injection is the end, they don't give a shit whether or not it protects you from anything. They just want to get a needle in your arm. Of course you're alleging something, you dickhead. Of course this is like whispering and dog whistling about friggin' nanobots. Ugh. Bangino. Oh, he's very upset.
malintent or conspiracy, but it's
Yes, you are. There is no other variance in this. If the government only wants to put a needle in your arm and they don't care about the reason for doing so for your health, then of course there has to be another reason. Even if it's just giving you a fake placebo, which would give you the illusion that you're immune so that you go die.
but it's very striking and it makes me nervous.
Well, that's because you're weak. That's not an indication. Let's see what Bongino's upset about. He's very upset. He's very upset, but the music. He's upset that they're not getting more coverage of Hunter Biden, y'all, because it did.
We told you about a mob of vandals targeting
Oh, terrible.
the police department in Portland. The police
Yeah, you guys really care about Portland. Finally.
association burning debris and leaving anti-cop graffiti outside their HQ Saturday night.
This has
Overworked, overwhelmed, and burned out. Why Portland cops say they're leaving in droves.
more than 30
Well, if they're leaving in droves, why would they have to say they're leaving in droves? Okay.
Portland cops and supervisors open up about why they're leaving the state's largest police force in droves. One retiring detective telling the Oregonian the community shows zero support. The mayor and council ignore actual facts on crime and policing in favor of radical leftist and anarchist fantasy.
That's the reason to leave. That cop, one of more than 100 who have reportedly left the Bureau since July in one of the biggest waves of departures in recent memory. Here to react, former
Yeah, talk about why is this? By the way, this clip is Bongino lashes out at media over coverage of Hunter Biden.
NYPD officer, Fox News contributor, Secret Service agent Dan Bongino. Dan,
Bongino.
none of this should surprise you, correct?
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't surprise you, but all these folks are surprised. You know, I mean, you'd feel surprised if you woke up with Brian Kilmeade's face every day.
No, listen, folks, this is only a mystery to liberals who I don't know if their skulls are extra thick, if they're lined with vibranium or lead.
Yeah, that's comparable. Thick-headedness, that's the problem. But thanks for giving us the benefit of the doubt in a headbutting contest.
But how was this a shocker to anyone? So let me get this straight. Let's coddle the criminals and let's treat the cops like crap, and then let's wonder why the cops are leaving. Do you ever, I mean, to the listeners out there, do you ever wake up in the morning, if you're sane, and say, how do liberals wake up in the morning and look in the mirror confused by this? Oh my gosh, we treated our cops terribly, and
It's Portland, asshole. Why don't you talk about guns? What's it like when you wake up after a mass shooting? Another mass shooting. You guys are gonna, but like, Portland's fucked up, but it's not indicative of the nature of liberal governance. And it's certainly not in line with Biden and his administration. It's got its problems. It's full of lunatics. The city is. It's had this problem for fucking ever. It's the nature of that city in a lot of ways. It's weird hippie, like, libertarians and a mix of like anarchists and sovereign citizens, and it's just, and they got enough woods to run into where they can hide. It's a bunch of, like, most of them are suburban white kids LARPing as badasses. But it's not indicative of anything else. But how do you wake up every morning when there's been another mass shooting where a 4-year-old or a 9-year-old was killed, and we're like, a background check would have stopped that guy. And you're like, yeah, well,
coddling the criminals.
It's please tell me about one city
who are allowed to run wild in the middle of Portland, and all of a sudden the cops don't want to work here. What a shocker! How did that happen? But that's liberalism for you. It's a far.
It is. Is that liberalism? Is that
forest fire?
Meanwhile, before the election.
Well, the attacks are anarchists largely and sovereign citizens. So,
Fox News, New York Post talked about the Hunter Biden story, the laptop, and everything else. It was pretty much avoided by the mainstream media until this weekend when CBS did an interview with Hunter. And the good news, Dan,
he has a book coming out.
Listen to this. Hunter didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I can say this, is I'm cooperating completely. And I am absolutely certain, 100% certain, that at the end of the investigation, that I will be cleared of any wrongdoing. And all I can do is cooperate and trust in the process. I don't think I made a mistake in taking the spot on the board. I think I made a mistake in terms of underestimating the way in which it would be used against me.
Used against?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Him. So Burisma, not a mistake, didn't make mistakes with his taxes. And he says that laptop at the Fix-It shop in Delaware certainly could have been his.
If they stole one.
Yeah, okay, a couple points on this. Number one, this is a grown man. It's not a child. So can we please stop, not you guys, but can we please stop?
Well, I mean, for one moment, Bongino Kilmeade felt seen.
In other media outlets, referring this as to Joe Biden's kid. This is a grown man, okay? Secondly,
who is calling him Joe Biden's kid? You're the guys who are trying to tag Biden with his son's activity, both business and personally. While he literally, there's a story in the book that's coming out where his dad left his Secret Service protection to go see his son and have an intervention. And he was like, I'm fine. And Biden, his dad was like, you're not fine.
What kind of a father puts this guy, their son, in charge of these international deals with enemies?
He doesn't. He didn't put him in charge of those deals. He just tells you he's a grown man and he's not the guy's kid, and then he goes off on this, why would you put your son in this situation as a minor?
Enemies of the United States knowing he has a drug problem. Can someone answer me that question?
Well, he didn't. Hunter Biden took certain jobs. He didn't stop him because he's an adult.
Tell me how Lunch Bucket Joe's such a great guy again.
Lunch Bucket Joe.
And third, we're not sure it's the laptop. Hey, look at this. You know what this is? It's on my notes for today's show. Here's the Hunter Biden receipt for the laptop. Here's Hunter Biden's signature for the laptop. Here's where it's billed to Hunter Biden. The laptop for the receipt that had...
Oh my God, someone has a photocopy of something.
Pictures of Hunter Biden with Hunter Biden's confirmed emails, where Hunter Biden dropped...
Yeah, the Russians never had access to those when they broke into the Burisma computers last year.
The laptop off. Is anyone going to ask these questions? Here it is, guys, the receipt. Here, that's the receipt right there.
And?
I even printed one for myself.
Well, of course you did. You're a weak-willed man. You're on the losing side of a circumstance right now. You're scrambling for every scrap you have.
Everyone can do it. This media person could have asked that question.
Well, they did ask him about the laptop.
So it's Hunter Biden's laptop signed by Hunter Biden, billed to Hunter Biden with pictures of Hunter Biden, with Hunter Biden's emails. But gosh, whose computer could that possibly
be? What happens
be?
next,
Definitely
Dan?
not Hunter Biden's.
Dan, what happens next? Does this investigation...
Dan, here's a good idea. Give me your laptop for a week. I'll just take it to a room where I just have internet access, and when I give it back to you, everything that is on it is yours. See how that works? Hey man, it's got your email addresses on it. You own the thing. I have a receipt that you dropped it off and picked it up. Anything that's on there is yours.
Just die because the FBI had the laptop years ago, and we haven't...
And they went, yeah, it's a fake. Like, part of it's real, but the rest of it's fake.
heard much about it.
Because they looked at it and they did a forensic report on it, and they were like, it's bullshit.
Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gave up on the Justice Department a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
Show me evidence.
How do you give up on the Justice Department?
Otherwise, if this was Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop with pictures of Donald Trump Jr. signed by Donald Trump Jr. and billed to Donald Trump Jr.,
Bill Barr would have ran in interference for it, and it probably would have had worse shit on it.
He'd be in a federal prison right now for 25 years
for what?
Selling the country out to China.
Selling the country out to China. Because he was partnered with a company that got a deal with China 4 years before he became a partner?
But because it's Hunter, you do interviews and sell a book on it. And you want me to have faith in the justice system? The justice system is blind to Democrats.
Ouch. It's terrible.
Republicans, their eyes are wide open. It's disgusting.
That he has the...
It is disgusting that the justice system is like, holy shit, what the fuck are they up to?
The audacity to do a book tour while his dad's president.
Yeah, all the receipts about that they're finding out Gaetz aren't being talked about. Yeah, it's interesting that he printed out a laptop receipt for Hunter Biden, but they're not talking about the Cash App and Apple Pay receipts that the New York Times reviewed.
And he caused so much controversy, and now he's chronicling it.
It's so good.
And that was just his first interview. His interview, his comeback.
This morning. I was in my garage this morning, Brian, and I heard...
Yeah, we know.
Heard you say another great point. It was
he watches this show in his garage.
You or Steve, you said, and then the brother, Joe Biden's brother's out there too.
In Florida.
Film and video. It's amazing.
Right.
These guys have no shame at all. They're all wonderful. Lunch Bucket Joe, he's one of us. He ain't one of me. He may
He is not one of you. There's only one of you, Bongino.
be one of you if you're a Democrat. He ain't one of me. What kind of guy sends his kid out there to do this?
That's that Rudy Giuliani line, by the way, and I don't know what the hell that means.
Think about that.
The same guy that just said it was Jim Crow on steroids with the Georgia law, a flat-out lie. We have to re-examine what's going on here. Dan, thanks.
Yeah, look at it again. Maybe take another look. It's important to look at it and think about it. Thanks, guys, for breaking it down. And I'm glad you didn't let the other two talk too much.
So much. Look forward to your show
Dan.
today.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. Good Lord. All right, hold on. Cancel. So there's obviously a lot. The about the infrastructure bill. So Bill O'Reilly, infrastructure Bill O'Reilly calls into Glenn Beck's show, who he is apparently, I guess, doing his show from the set of Magnolia Farms' kitchen set or whatever. Like, what kind of bullshit? What are those? I know you've got antique. What kind of houses? Look at all the goddamn drawers in this thing. You have 2 gourds, 2 boxing gloves from 1927, and on top of, and this has got to be a full sculpture, on top of 2 matching blue suitcases from the 20s, and this like a painting of a native chief and a window. It's just wrong to set up your television studio in the business center of a spa in New Mexico. I'm just saying. Blueberry Bunyan. I just deleted Glenn Beck from my feed. You just can't? Yeah. No, it's not a Zoom background. It's his actual house. And I don't know what the shit he's drinking. It looks like a can of motor oil. We'll see. Okay, hold on. That's a different. Bangino.
Start with the $2 trillion American.
Excuse me. No. Trump asked for a $2 trillion one. Biden's is 2.25 minimum.
Jobs plan.
It might even be higher. When we're done, we'll let you know.
This is great. Don't you love it?
I should copy his set for my show. Right. Do I have to wear denim, though? I bet he's wearing jeans right now. Just like wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
Really good.
Yeah, I love it.
So now we're in...
that's his studio and he's not there? Why are you cutting to the ass shot of him?
Full
Where is he?
Socialism mode.
Okay, we're in full socialism mode. Remember
And
that.
I was telling my audience on BillO'Reilly.com the other night, I said, look, there's a delineation between Americans who seek information, those who are listening to us right now.
Yeah, that's what we do. I was seeking information, not fodder to take a giant dump on.
And those who have the headphones on listening to Puff Daddy.
Yeah, that's the 2 people in the world. People who listen to Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck and black people. That's basically, and they're symbiotes and sycophants in the white community. And people who are listening to Puff Daddy, he doesn't even go by Puff Daddy anymore, does he? Isn't he Diddy now? What?
Okay.
Okay. That is funny. It's great.
There's a delineation.
There's a line between people who listen to Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck and people who listen to Puff Daddy. He has a coin that when he meets somebody, he flips it like in No Country for Old Men. If it lands on Puff Daddy, he gives them $30 million and grabs their ass.
All right. So you have,
all right,
I would say half the American public
listens to Puff Daddy,
actually absorbs some information in their lives,
some,
and half doesn't.
Some.
Yeah, some. The rest of them are, yeah. But most of them are dumbass. They're not smart like you and me, Bill.
Yes.
Yeah. But you got, maybe 100 million adults who have no blanket idea what's happening. No.
Yeah. Got 100 million morons out there. You know what I mean? And have you seen this Q doc?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
This is what the far left.
Mike says conservatives are hilarious. They use $10 words. They're 10-cent praise, not understanding the words mean. Right. And not understanding what the words mean. Scrolled by. There it is. What the words mean or why they're actually being used. Cancel culture. Yeah, exactly. Socialism.
Far left depends upon it.
Yeah, it does. We on the far left depend on people having insular, unworldly lives because it's easier to make people like people of other races when they never meet them.
They depend on those people.
Those people. He'd say you people, but he's not. He's talking to Glenn.
You just knee-jerk and put in the politically correct.
Well, that's not knee-jerk. If you listen to Puff Daddy, you would know that is just dancing. That's anybody who listens to him.
Crew. But now we're in full
Now?
socialism mode.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's 3 buttons to get it, and it's like X, 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 left trigger, and then you have to push down on the right joystick to get in full socialism mode. I did not know that. I had to go to Biden's website and watch Hunter's videos on YouTube about, the socialism Gamergate.
All right. So I
Right.
have in front of me, Beck, because I always I want to be well informed on the
Yeah. Okay. What do you have in front of you that helps you be well informed, Bill?
Glenn Beck program, The Fusion of Enlightenment and Entertainment. I want to be very, very well informed. I have in front of me where
Sure. Starting when?
all of this money is supposed to go. Do
All
you
right.
know that there is $10 billion for a civilian climate corps? $10 billion.
Over 10 years.
A civilian
$1 billion a year in a country with a $22 trillion a year economy. $1 billion a year for volunteer systems, non-governmental organizations, people fighting climate change, people like engineers. Okay.
climate corps. What
is
exactly
Yeah, what is a climate corps? Do people actually do stuff to try and help? That's weird.
might that be?
Yeah,
So
right.
I think what it is
Well, don't think what it is. Look at what it is. You've got the information right there in front of you because you want to be informed. Bill.
they'll hire people to run around individual neighborhoods going, "It's hot today."
Okay, that was a joke. Did you call up Dennis Miller and get that joke from him, or did you call and try to sell it to him and he was like, "Babe," and so he hung up on you and you just had to use it here? And so I know I'll call into Glenn's show. This is gold.
It's hot.
You know,
Okay?
I wonder, Bill,
If you have a point.
what Stu, do you remember the name of that civilian corps that I dressed up in lederhosen for when I was at Fox?
Yeah, you mean your Nazi uniform?
No.
That was on your cover of your book?
I just remember the lederhosen.
Yeah, okay. So, but it was on this, and I was talking about
Does everybody on his show and crew have a shellfish allergy?
what FDR did in the 1930s, and he took this youth civilian corps, and they went out to, help nature and the national parks and everything else. And Obama talked about doing this. I wonder if that's not the promise fulfilled now from President Obama.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's not what it says, and it's not what it actually would do, and it's not a bunch of kids running around. It's meant for, I'm sure there's going to be some tree planting. You can just go out there and just talk to this. They'll all be wearing uniforms, clearly with Black Power symbols on their chest.
Yeah. Well, maybe $10 billion. And then there's
Over 10 years.
another $20 billion.
$2 billion a year.
See, this doesn't mean
Less than that, because I think that part's over 50.
anything. People go, 20 billion, 20 trillion, who did care? Well, when the dollar collapses, just remember this conversation.
Okay. All right, guys, put a pin in it. When the dollar collapses, we'll all come back to this moment when a government of a country that has a minimum economy of $22 trillion a year suggested spending 10% of that over 10 years on rebuilding the substructure of the entire economy. And that directly, of course, led to the collapse of the monetary system. I mean, never mind the fact that Moody's and all these Wall Street firms are like literally salivating because it's going to add 9.7 million jobs or some nonsense like.
All right, so $20 billion on bike lanes and pedestrian safety.
Right. For cities and suburbs.
All right, this is a federal
Well, I
bill.
think that-
Aren't
Yeah, grants and stuff. They don't have to use it all if they don't want. Red states don't have to create them. They don't have to spend that money. It's allocated. If you really are against it, call your congressman. Say, don't take the money.
bike lanes supposed to be in the county realm? Isn't it, we have a
Yeah, but they can't afford it. So the federal government's helping. So are fucking gas stations. Shouldn't that be private? But the federal government literally subsidized every gas station on the interstate highway system when it was built.
Bike lane.
For fucking 20 years. They still do. We still subsidize oil based on the new need of it in 1955.
In Nassau County, where I am, but Biden is now designating $20 billion for bike lanes.
Yeah, we need
nationwide. How do you think this whole country? Well, I understand, Bill. You go 3 places. You go to your favorite restaurant where everybody knows that you're famous and you live nearby in Nassau County, whatever the shit that is. You stay home, and then you go to your lawyers to make the outlay payment of the $30 million to the woman you raped for years at Fox.
We need bike lanes. Hey, we need bike lanes.
You need a bike lane
on those interstate highways, and only the federal government can do those bike lanes.
Yeah.
This is part of the Agenda 2030.
Yeah, totally. I mean, these guys are all blowing smoke about what China is planning on doing in their country, but if we try to do it here, it's obviously communism.
Sustainable 2030 Act.
Sounds horrifying.
From the United Nations. The bike lanes are part of the Great Reset.
Oh my God, they're basically the bike lanes of the beast.
But what all this really is for those,
tell us what it really is, Bill.
Those who have the headphones on, okay?
Yeah, listening to Puff Daddy, right? Diddy.
This is a full socialism play,
right? But they don't know that. I mean, they're like grooving, and they can't.
That the federal government in Washington will come to your county, your town, and tell you exactly how many bike lanes you can have. What?
No, they won't. They literally don't. There is no way that's included in the bill. That's available funds for cities and counties to use if they want it. And they know that certain cities and counties want it, and they know that's baseline how much it'll cost to get it to the ones that want it. No one is driving out in the middle of fucking Tulsa and with government like trucks rolling into town. We're here to forcibly install your bike lanes.
What kind of bikes you can ride? All right.
No. As a matter of fact, anybody who sells bikes is going to make more money because more people will be riding bikes because they'll feel safer doing so.
This is what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want. They're trying. It's really. I don't know if you know this, but George Soros has controlling interest in Huffy, and he's got this weird Jewish plot he's planning to bring back the banana seat. It's all right.
I thought it was really interesting that.
Yeah, well,
that after all of the stuff was broken down, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you got to give her credit, she's not a liar, she's not a deceiver. Okay, the Biden administration basically
Bill didn't, or Glenn didn't like that. Either that, or he's just somebody's pressing on his windpipe.
They deceive. All right, they'll never tell you the truth. But
never tell you the truth.
Ocasio-Cortez. Well,
I mean, they said they were going to get. It's true. I got to give Bill credit here because Biden said he was going to get 1 million doses of the vaccine in arms on day 1 or on day 100 of his administration, and it's 2. It's over 2 now, and they're not even at the 100 mark. So it wasn't true. I mean, the truth surpasses the reality, but I take the.
Well, she goes, I hate this bill because it's not enough. It should be 10 trillion, not 2 trillion in infrastructure or 3, 10. Because this is what the socialists want. The government runs.
Well, then if the socialists want 10 trillion and Trump wanted 2 trillion and Biden wants 2.5 trillion, what the fuck are you whinging about?
Everything.
Everything.
Now,
yeah.
They have that in Europe. All right, they have that in Europe. And be happy, everyone listening to O'Reilly and Beck, or Beck and
No one's ever happy listening to both of you together.
O'Reilly is his show. All right, right now, be happy you don't live in France.
Thanks, Richard.
Because you can't come out of the house to get your croissant. It's locked down for 4 weeks. Why? Because the government...
Because Biden's not president and they don't have a vaccine plan? They're where we were when Trump was running things?
France is semi-socialist. They
Semi-socialist. That's the problem.
couldn't possibly develop a vaccine
Like Belgium did.
to do anything. So they don't have any vaccine. So therefore, the COVID-18 wave has swept over France.
The COVID-18 wave? COVID-18?
And Germany and Italy and the Netherlands and on and on. Because
I thought Sweden was totally open and you guys were supporting them.
they're socialist governments.
No, they're not.
Whereby here in the capitalistic system, President Trump picked up the phone and said to the CEOs of
Said to the CEOs in our capitalist system, we, the government, will take taxpayer dollars and pay you ahead of time for a product you don't even have. What? I mean, that's literally more socialist. I mean, none of this is socialism, but you know, at least based on that, if that's your, there's got to be a socialism bell curve. What?
Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, whatever it may be, you get that vax, we, the federal government, will buy it from you to the...
No, we paid for it ahead of time. We funded it. They used the money ahead of time to develop and produce the vaccine.
tune of billions of dollars, and we'll sign the contract right now.
Right. That you will be paid by the federal government and de facto, and you will provide it to us for a price that we set.
Presto! 7 months
Socialism in its own way.
later, there's the vax. So this is how capitalism works.
Yeah, the first batch arrived from Belgium. The first shots in arms went in England.
You see, there
You see?
are financial incentives to develop worthy things. Socialism never works because the government is so screwed up from top to bottom, it can't even put in a bike lane. A bike lane that would cost, I don't know, $100,000 by a local situation will cost the federal government $2 million. They can't.
Because the city will take all the funds they can get and borrow it, and there's a lot of local corruption. So when they use their own money, they're very frugal. When they have the federal government's money, they spend it like shit. And it's all right. And that's the federal government's problem. But yeah.
So
well, the reason why they can't do it is because you are so far away from decision makers. You know.
Yeah, that's what it is. Washington is so far away. You know what I mean? It's like letting Russia run the goddamn show. You know what I mean? What's the difference really between Washington, D.C. and the European Union or the UN running our lives? You know what I mean? It's not like representatives from the area knowing the local issues can't go to Washington, D.C., see what's in the bill and go, this is a good portion of this 60-40. This bill actually helps my constituents more than it hurts them. I'm going to vote for it in normal. No. They have to literally stand in lockstep against anything, even if it would help their local constituents because they represent them there directly, because Trump said so.
You know, when your town is involved, I can go to the town mayor. I know the mayor.
I'm sure you do.
You know, the mayor might be my neighbor, and I can go and go, what are you doing with all of this? This is way out of control.
And he can go, show up at the planning meeting. Stop, get off my fucking property. We have rules here. If you weren't at the planning, if you want to go see them, go down to the city hall and look at the goddamn plans. We have every 6 months, we have a financial review, or every quarter. Come down and look at it. That's what he would say, not like, bike lane's a bike lane.
But you can't go to the government. And so
Yes, you can. Not only can you go to the government and ask for Freedom of Information Act or even download or get the budget online, but you have representatives in government that go there and can tell you what's actually in shit. You can't go to the government and Bill O'Reilly is reading the breakdown of the actual spending.
And so the graft and the waste is off the charts. I don't know if you noticed this, Bill.
Yeah, but not during Trump, though.
Bill, but unions are mentioned 24 times.
Jesus Christ. Unions. I mean, that's basically communism.
In this plan.
I know. I
mean,
know.
this is,
and this is
you
again,
want to talk about the cost of things.
Yeah. People. Am I right? I mean.
Well, number one, the federal government doesn't care.
Nah, they don't care.
So they get
Right.
the money.
The federal government doesn't care because it's a big iron giant that lives in the sky.
I don't care if it's spent efficiently. We don't care. I mean, that's you going back to the Pentagon.
Well, why do they have reviews? Why do they have budget committees? Why do Ways and Means present how money's supposed to be spent, review how the money is spent, and then if somebody's found to be defrauding the government, why do those people go to jail? If they don't care.
In the $400 John seat.
Thanks, John. Oh, man. It's brutal, I have to say. Thank you, Beth. I view it as a civil service that I'm doing for the mental health of everyone else.
Damn it, I don't care. All right, but number two,
Yeah, number two. That's the best description of your philosophical ideas and your understanding of general issues.
get a situation where the federal government is basically saying to the American people, trust us.
No, they're not. They're presenting a bill. This is how we're going to take tax dollars and spend it. We believe that it will help you. We know what people are asking for. This would be how much we would need to fix it. We know like lead pipes kill people and cause brain damage permanently. We'd like to get rid of those things. This is how much we think it will cost. And this is what we can do it for. And your representatives are here to talk back and forth and deal about how much they actually think, whether they think they can do it cheaper or not, or they have an idea on how to do it cheaper, they're welcome to bring it up.
We're going to run your life from the time you're born to the time you die.
What? Since when?
You don't need to really do anything. Just give us all your money.
Okay. Oh, I see. Right now, we're all black welfare queens from 1986 in Bill O'Reilly's mind. We all listen to Puff Daddy, and we all are like, I'm getting my government check, y'all.
Everything that you earn, just turn over 60, 70% of it to us. We'll
60, 70%? The fuck are you talking about? The bill literally talks about the corporate tax rate being 28%, and they still get a shit ton of write-offs.
take care of it.
Where'd the 60 number come
I
from?
like wood.
Okay, get on a plane and go to Venezuela. See how that works out. Go down and visit Raul Castro in Havana. See how they're living down there. Yet,
see how France had a go ahead.
80 million people voted for Biden. Yes, Biden lied to you. Yes, he said he was a moderate. He's not.
He is. Yeah, he is. If you present $2.25 trillion in infrastructure when we've just literally let shit die on the vine for years. We know how many bridges need fixing. We know that the Midwest doesn't have broadband and the flyover states have been hurting for internet, hooking them up. And we know that all this stuff, none of this is a fucking surprise. The price tag's not a surprise. The need isn't a surprise. None of this. And what he's asking for is $250 billion more than your guy did, who was complaining that he couldn't ask for 3, by the way. And the extreme, what they consider the extreme of the party, asks for 10. He's not even meeting them halfway. A moderate, you could argue, was like, oh, well, she wants 10. I think we can do 5. I mean, we're going to pass it on our own, right?
Not. He's nothing. He's agnostic. Biden is nothing because he can't concentrate long enough to know what the deuce is going on.
A little projection there, Bill.
If he were a part of this conversation between me and you, Beck, if he
was part of this conversation with me, it is not a conversation. You guys are just blowing each other, and Biden would walk in and go, "I'll wait till you guys are done."
were the third, and you said to him, "Hey, Mr. President, with all due respect."
Oh shit! Bill just did Glenn's voice on him. Hey, Mr. President.
You're breaking the
Caught himself doing the funny Glenn Beck voice that he does.
bank here. All right, you're going to tax the country into a recession. Do you have any clue about that?
And he would go, he'd say what he said, which was, hold on one second. Investors, I'll just do it. Let's see. Biden infrastructure. Let's see. This was, I mean, I think he might get out of here. I think he might bring this up, Bill. Biden infrastructure clean energy plan may be a windfall for investors. Weekend reads, these investments can help you profit from Biden's $2.3 trillion spending thing. Biden approval high amid infrastructure tax hike push. S&P 500 rises lifted by tech shares close out best month since November. Friggin' commies, right? The Biden plan to build a modern sustainable $3 trillion the ETFs to help you invest in the Biden infrastructure plan. This is where you want to put your money because you're going to make money in the capitalist system if you want to invest. 12 best. This is Kiplinger, for fuck's sake. This is like Forbes and like all these Dow Jones Industrial Average groups. 12 best infrastructure stocks for Biden's next big plan. Doesn't sound like a big socialism plan. It doesn't, does it? Look at this. Here's a bridge being built, and it's going to be private industry. Next initiative of Joe Biden's administration is widely expected to be an infrastructure plan. Infrastructure is generally popular with voters. Hatred of potholes and traffic gridlock seems to be one of the only things Republicans and Democrats can agree on. Maintaining America's place as the world's premier economy isn't something that just happens, says Chase Robertson of Houston-based RIA Robertson Wealth Management. It requires investment. Most of that investment comes from the private sector, but certain things, particularly roads, bridges, shared infrastructure, tends to be funded by the government, and the new administration has made it very clear that this is a major priority. The COVID relief bill will juice the economy in the short term, but its effects aren't designed to be long-lasting. It's a lifeline, not a long-term investment. And infrastructure on the bill, on the other hand, will actually lay the foundations for future growth. You know, the kind of stuff the communists are always talking about. Where would we be today if prior administrations hadn't built and expanded the interstate highway system or even the Panama Canal? Full socialism mode. Bill, you're a creep and a moron. Glenn, you're a weakling and you're stupid. Fix your shit.
He'd fall down the stairs. Americans who seek information, those just remember this conversation. All right, so after all of the stuff was broken down, that Alexandria Ocasio picked up the phone and said to the CEOs of Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, whatever, nothing. He's agnostic.
Okay, so
we're going to move. Hold on. He doesn't know border policy. He doesn't know what Trump did. He doesn't know any of that.
Biden campaign border statement. Let's see. Let's go. Where's a good one? Go something that goes way back. Let's see. So let's go 2020. There's a, yeah.
When you realize your trading firm
I
is
do
more...
realize. I realize. Hold on, wait till this commercial's gone, and then 3, 2, 1, and then. Don't.
Mr. Vice President, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being out here. Thank you for taking time.
How's that bus tour? You had a wild exchange this morning.
Oh, that was actually a little bit of fun. We had a great bus tour. We've about 660 miles. We're going in day 6. We've had a couple thousand people show up. They're enthusiastic, and
let's see if we can find where he talks about
with crop cover, with dealing with absorbing carbon, with setting up. Well, for example, I know it's not going to sound good on television, but there's an awful lot of chicken manure in Delaware because it was a big area. There's an awful lot of hog manure and cattle. Well, guess what? We've learned now how to pelletize that, take out the methane, use it for energy, and be able to sell this pure stuff that is not damage the environment abroad. Well, you're going to see little factories springing up all over this area. Or, for example, ethanol. Ethanol. The Sours ethanol plants are not $15 an hour, $45 an hour. They've generated significant economic income.
Let me ask you about one specific farm issue.
Sure.
Farm exports have been hurt by the trade war.
Passed.
So this is during the campaign last year. This is like 20 years ago. Hold on. The interviews.
On capital gains, clipping coupons, your money making money, the same rate you pay in your regular taxes, that raised about $200 billion. If, in fact, you eliminate a thing called stepped-up basis, which is not an inheritance tax, it's a tax owed 10 seconds before the person dies and leaves the non-tax, and that's about $40 billion.
That's one of the things that you guys tried and couldn't do under Obama.
No, but we can now because people, look, I'm going to be a little short here, but
good.
Once you come through, the Carney show comes through with the guy with the pea in the shell, 3 shells, and there's no pea under the shell, any one of them. Second time it comes around, they kind of figure it out. And so they know that.
Look at that. Biden using a 3-card Monty reference from no wonder I like the guy. By the way, I don't know that Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck could opine on the value of creating pellets from methane from chicken shit and pig shit and cow shit and selling it overseas as an energy export from factories that do that in Delaware and the Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, that. All right. Somebody told them Trump's the devil. Kids were starving. You have to knock out everything Trump did in the border. And we had Stephen Miller on the No Spin News this week, and he just explained methodically, here's what Trump did, here's what Biden took off, and now we have this. So,
yeah, we what do we have? The normal surge, a smaller one than we had in 2019?
His people basically said, this isn't working out real well. So let's give it to Kamala Harris. Let's let her be in charge of it. This is great. So Harris wants no blanket part of this. Harris is smart
Yeah, she does.
enough to know. You're putting me in charge of this? So
I thought she was running it. Yes, I do have the good ice today. But I thought the whole idea was that she's running the whole show behind his back anyways. What part of the job wouldn't she want?
When the press asks Harris, are you going down to the border? Harris laughs. Actually laughed, this shrill Hillary Clinton-esque laugh.
Well, yeah, women laughing upset you because obviously there's a woman somewhere laughing all the way to the bank because you raped her for years, Bill.
All right? Kamala is not going anywhere. All right?
Well, her office even came out and said, we want to make it clear, this is not her job. This is not what she's doing.
Right. And then the Biden people go, oh, no, there was a misunderstanding.
Since when?
We're putting her in charge of diplomatic efforts. So,
yeah.
Yeah. No. She's not going to go down and try to stop people from coming in. She's going to go to Honduras, okay, and give them $50 billion, $50 billion to Honduras. Now,
we're not giving $50 billion to Honduras.
Did you notice that the brother of the...
Seriously, we're not giving $50 billion to Honduras.
President of Honduras was convicted of drug dealing in the United States and sentenced to life in prison on Thursday. Did you notice that?
No.
No. So we're giving him $50 billion for his legal fees?
Oh, I didn't.
Back to...
Are we...
Oh, the brother of the president of...
Okay, the brother.
Of Honduras.
Jesus.
Vacations in Miami, which is insane, all right? The feds grab him, charge him with being a major drug trafficker throughout the United States and Central America. The jury convicts him. He gets sentenced to life in prison. This is the president of Honduras's brother.
And?
Okay, but we need to give that man, the president
of course
Honduras, $50 billion.
But yeah, see, like Glenn Beck's talking to you on the phone, and I don't think of Glenn Beck as somebody who categorically raped a woman over 10 years and had to pay her $30 million to be quiet, and had a series of other sexual assault and sexual harassment claims that you had to pay off over time that literally ate up a section of your salary at Fox, paying off part of it as part of agreements on their end.
Of course, we gave another family that's completely corrupt with brothers and sons. We gave him the key to the White House. Why not give $50 million?
Well, enough about Trump, though.
Or $1 billion to Honduras and that president.
Honest to God, I have to look this up. Hold on. $50 billion to Honduras. Mexican leaders, I mean, 54, I mean, it's, January 23rd, 2021, Mexican leader says, when he's talking to foreign college, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, at a strange moment, okay, get out of here. Mexico's president said that Biden told him the U.S. would send $4 billion to help development in Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Wait a minute. First of all, Honduras is getting $50 billion. Now they were getting $4 billion. Now they're just splitting $4 billion with 3 other countries and Mexico. Nations whose hardships have spawned tides of migration. López Obrador spoke Friday with Biden by phone, said the two discussed immigration and the need to address the root cause of why people migrate. Mexico has stopped President Biden's call to Trudeau. Also, Biden told Trudeau that by issuing the order, he was following through on a campaign pledge. About the Keystone Pipeline. Yeah, sorry, kiss my ass. The White House said in a statement that Biden acknowledged Trudeau's disappointment with the Keystone decision. Biden's call with López Obrador also came at a tense moment days after the Mexican president accused U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration of fabricating drug trafficking charges against the country's former defense secretary. Let's see. Said the phone call was friendly and respectful. White House said Biden mentioned reversing the previous administration's draconian immigration policies. Biden signed the executive order to leaving the okay, so yeah. But I'm sorry, what nonsense were you talking about? No, this is it, yeah.
They just have an awful lot in common, I think. Yeah, I am talking about Hunter. Yeah.
Okay.
What else would he be talking about? Of course he's talking about Hunter. And by the way, so let's see, how much time do I got? Okay, I'm pretty good. I managed to dig up, let's see, hold on. We don't need to do this. It's just terrifying. This is Matt Gaetz's last public appearance. Forbes put this up before the DOJ investigation was revealed.
Of our skin or where we come from or what our background might be, because obviously if you're white, then
what Wow. Opening salvo. Keep in mind, this is during the Floyd trial going on. This is in the last couple of weeks before this stuff hit the fan.
There's something wrong with you that you have to solve. So goes the statement of the critical race theorists. I don't care if it's old school, and I don't care if it's politically incorrect. In this country, everyone ought to have the opportunity to succeed. I don't care what color you are, where you come from, what you
as long as you're white.
believe, or who you love. America should be a place where everyone is welcome to make their contribution. And the fact that you might be white does not make you a bad person in the United States of America. Yes, ma'am.
Someone's asking about basically like trans issues in girls' sports. Men deciding that they want to be women and then competing in sports.
So the question is about the attack on women's sports that we see going on right now. And I don't get this. When I was in school, it would not have been viewed as a positive thing if the boys wanted to play girls' sports. That would have subjected you to ridicule. And
they would have said you were queer, stuff like that. And then they would have put your head in the toilet, and luckily it didn't fit. But you know what I'm talking about.
Perhaps rightfully so. But
yeah, they'd mock you for being girly, rightfully so.
now it's more than a joke. It is a deprivation of opportunity for women. You know, my sister got a great deal out of women's sports. She played softball at Choctawhatchee High School, and it gives young women a sense of agency and ambition and self-esteem that's really important. And I don't understand why more women in America aren't fighting against this transgendered agenda that doesn't really seem to be about treating people fairly and honestly, but about shifting the whole matrix of how we design athletic competition and employment.
Yeah, that's what the goal of it is. Allowing transgender people to live out their lives as their transitioned gender is really not even about that. It's about controlling women's sports more than anything.
I don't think anybody should be subject to meanness because they're transgender. I think
they should just be stiff-armed from participating in life where other normal girls and normal boys do.
we should be nice to everyone. But that does not mean,
well, if you were just being nice to that 17-year-old, it wouldn't be so much a problem.
that we should have men dressing up like women
We don't have men dressing up like women.
in the women's bathrooms.
We don't have men dressing up like women in women's bathrooms. If you want to pass a posing as transgender bill, knock yourself out. Because transgender people are not men dressing up as women or choosing to or posing as. That would be a Matt Gaetz or a Mike Huckabee putting on a dress because there's gray areas in the law and committing a crime. And if you want to protect people against that, that has nothing to do with trans people. That's a heterophobic bill. Clearly you think that's an overwhelming problem, that straight guys are so pervy that they couldn't possibly not take advantage of that, and they'd be disgusting. And maybe it's projection on your part.
In the women's locker rooms and taking spots that should be reserved for women in sporting and athletics.
Well, they're not taking spots that were reserved for women. They're trans women. And we're talking about the 0.005% of the population that are trans and the 0.002% of that population that want to go play sports.
Yes, sir.
Just pass a testosterone rule. That way, like a really butch girl could play on the guys' football team and bust some heads if she wants to, if she just has a higher testosterone level. I'm sorry, that's a sensible thought. You wanted to just, assume that trans people are fakers and sexual perverts. But then you got a reason to believe them. project that out? What about closing the Mexican border?
The question is, what are we doing about closing the border and coming up with real immigration policy? I actually thought Trump had immigration right. We should evaluate immigration based on whether or not that immigration is beneficial to our country, and to not be sorry about that. And by the way, immigration is a strength of our country. We have a lot of immigrants in this community that...
Yeah. He got a Cuban child just, to live in his house for a while. There's a lot of immigration in Matt's life.
Make our community stronger, and I'm glad we have them. They should come legally. They should follow the law.
Right, like Biden's suggesting, like all Democrats are suggesting.
They should learn English.
Yeah, but you don't mandate it. I mean, if you're going to a country and they have a predominant language, learn the predominant language. It's just nice. But you shouldn't be like, if you can't learn the language in 3 years at a proficiency level of, someone who's in high school who's been in school here their whole lives, we're going to kick you out. That's ridiculous.
Don't care if that's politically incorrect. This is a country where we speak English. I think that's an important part of saying that you want to be an American. When my son came over from Cuba, first thing you wanted to do was learn English. And I think that's a great thing. So, one, finish building the wall. Second,
yeah, the last 18 feet. That'll do it.
Reignite the Trump asylum reforms where we get rid of catch and release. And if you have an asylum claim, you can make that claim.
You just have to live in a tent city with your 8-month-old in a cartel town until you just get tired of the sexual assault and go home.
And we're the most generous country in the world when it comes to asylum, but you can await that claim in your home country or in a safe third country, not here in the United States of America. And then I do think we need to look at specific areas where we need immigrants to come do jobs legally. The problem is when they come illegally, they're getting paid under the table, and oftentimes they're suppressing wages of our fellow Americans.
Yeah, that's Hillary Clinton's argument. That's everybody's argument for card check and shit like that. But the funny thing is, that shit that's in the comprehensive immigration bill. And this asshole is not going to vote for it. And no Republican's going to vote for it.
So a legal immigration system where we start from the proposition that we don't do immigration to help other countries or to help other workers. We do immigration to help our people. Yes, sir.
Well, what are we going to do? Like a LinkedIn and start recruiting immigrants?
Term limits. How many terms will you be running for? That's a
term limits. How many terms are you going to be running for? Interesting question.
Great question. So, on the issue of term limits, the question was a personal one, and how long I intend to do this job. When I was running, one of the competitors I was running against made a commitment that he would not do less than 4 years if elected, and he would not do more than 8 years if elected. And he ended up not being able to do any because I won. But that seemed about right to me. I think if I'd have left you after just one term, you would have felt like I went up there, got a cup of coffee, and didn't really do all I could to...
By the way, he has not co-sponsored any bills or written any legislation. He hasn't got a bill passed.
Fight for you, but I think when people...
He signed on a bunch of other people's shit after the fact.
Stay for, 10, 12, 14, 28 years, it's problematic. And so I'm not going to be a lifer in this job.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like when people go into the military. People who are lifers in the military, I don't trust those people. They need to go out and get a real job instead of living off the government tit. Right, Matt?
I do not expect to serve more than 8 years in this job. I might not serve more than 6 years. I served 6 years in the state legislature, and I've been elected to serve 6 years in Congress. That might have a nice ring to it. But here's the problem. It's all the good ones that leave, and it's the worst ones that stay. Maxine
So you're leaving.
Waters isn't going anywhere. She's going to stay. Adam Schiff's not going anywhere. He's going to stay. And, people like, who leaves? People like Ron DeSantis, who go and do their 6 years and then go find another way to make a contribution. So I struggle
through another government job
with this issue because I don't want to be a lifer. Little personal news, I'm recently engaged, so I'm kind of excited about...
You might want to like if you're planning to have a stamp licking for the invites, you might want to push that off about a week or so.
The life might hold, in marriage and fatherhood and all those things that I want to pursue. But I will not be.
Yeah, you can't pursue marriage and fatherhood while you have a job that isn't given to you by your dad.
Here for decades. I likely won't be here for 1 decade. I think that 4-year to 8-year range is the sweet spot.
They weren't asking about you, dickhead. They were asking about term limits, and do you think term limits are necessary?
So I hope you'll forgive me if after another term or two, you guys just find me hanging out down at the boathouse having a shrimp salad. Great. Yes, ma'am. Did you have a question? No, just give me a little praise. All right, raising the roof back there. Right here. Yes, ma'am. In the black.
Ma'am, do you have no? You just want more ice.
We already said this because I did come up a little late, but fake news. So I had to hunt to find anything accurate. I was getting called an extremist and a conspiracy theorist, but I brought up Biden's son's laptop back during when we were doing elections.
Right.
And that looked
She's doing the Hunter Biden laptop story.
I know I don't want the government to control news, but is there any front on trying to get it less biased? I do know there's Newsweek and
Newsmax, yeah.
But it's just, I even see other Republicans that are my age that support this, but they're still believing that Biden really won and that the government.
They're still believing that Biden really won. That the country really wants this liberal agenda. This lady in the front's like, oh Lord, I know her. She's down there at the boathouse all the time.
Because that's what's getting sold to them. And I will not lie to you. I can tell you the only reason I critically think is because my parents made me. In school I was told to shut up and color. And guess what my generation does? We shut up and color. So it's kind of scary for me.
He's told by your parents to shut up and color? What the hell are you talking about? When you were 7?
The question is,
I'm actually scared. I don't know where it's going, and I've run out of things. I want to color outside the lines, and my mother won't let me.
Fake news and information that is either put out or, in your case, suppressed. I mean, remember when the New York Post put out the story on the Hunter Biden laptop, and it was like big tech, big media, everyone swooped in and limited that so that people couldn't consider it in making their vote.
Yeah, you could consider it, but it didn't raise to the level of reality. You were doing an artificial push of it, and they recognized that, and they shut the bots down.
I do not believe that the government could ever be trusted to ascertain truth and falsity and to deliver that in a pure way.
This is a government employee who is supposedly working on these people's behalf, and he says he can't tell truth from lies.
I've been in government now for over 10 years,
and I don't know which way is up.
I don't trust them with the truth. And so,
what do you mean them? Who are they?
So I think that more than ever, the obligations of citizenship really impose upon us the necessity of review and critical thinking, like you said, and comparing.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, critical thinking is what she said. Not it was all the votes went to Spain.
I tell
Thank
folks,
you, Roger.
Don't just look at conservative news. I think we have an obligation to take it all in, to review it, to know what all the sides.
Yeah. Matter of fact, don't watch Tucker this week.
Are saying, and you know what? Sometimes we can learn from each other if we have disagreement, or we can become more enlightened. I mean, I remember in politics where it was like, oh man, if you changed your mind on anything, you were a flip-flopper. You could never be trusted by the voters again. And there are issues where my own opinion has been informed by the facts, where
I was like, it's probably not prudent to sleep with a 17-year-old, but since I've been in office,
gained more research, and where I've tried to do better as your congressman or as your representative. And so I just think that in today's era of fragmented information, so much fake news, so many media organizations wanting power, we just have to be ever the more diligent in comparing sources, reviewing the information, and finding the truth. Because ultimately, the truth will set us free. You know?
Isn't it true? It's so true.
The truth is ultimately what preserves and saves America. And this isn't China. You know, you were the gentleman.
It's not? This isn't China? Is this China? It's not China.
Earlier made the
Do you drugs every day? You do drugs, Danny? Every day. Good.
point about censorship. In China, the technology companies and the government are all in one. And every human in China has a social credit score attached to them. So imagine
Pipe train. Thanks, guys.
if what the government thought of you or what technology companies thought of you impacted where you lived.
No, it's your criminal record, and whether or not you show up in a store and videotape yourself with no pants on. It's really hard to get able to move into another city. Like I mean, your criminal record affects your life here as well. They just added it to like how you act an ass in public.
Where you could
It's ridiculous. But on a personal level, we do it all the time.
work, where your kids could go to school, your access to religious service.
When was this BS? This was about like right before the day before the DOJ or the New York Times story dropped.
Or financial institutions. And I worry that the cancel culture might be coming for finance next. What happens if...
Uh-oh. What if they cancel Cash App and Apple Pay?
Well, we saw that you posted an America First post, so now your mortgage interest rate is going to be different. Or
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
your credit score will be different. Or your ability to borrow money to start business might be constrained. That's
Uh-huh. Why would that be? Because the person you're borrowing from thinks you're an asshole?
why we have to hold firm. We cannot just let our country float
Yeah,
away.
get better footage. This is good. Yeah, this would be great for get the flag and yeah.
As we retreat to the seconds of our own thoughts. We've got to be willing to share those thoughts, review information,
Yell them out in a parking lot.
and speak the truth. And that is what I try to do each and every day as your congressman. Yes, ma'am, with the mask around her chin.
I'm looking forward to Leo DiCaprio doing the Matt Gaetz story as a comedy. This one I can't hear at all. He's going to have to relate it. We'll see. Retreat to your thoughts. It's weird. Yeah, right?
Careful, man. You just made a gun-pointing gesture. You may be labeled an extremist before this town hall is over. The question is, what are we going to do to protect our Second Amendment rights?
Yeah, what are we going to do?
As I'm here with you, the ruling party in Washington, D.C. is strategizing on how to subject law-abiding gun owners to even more hurdles and even more restrictions to be able to vindicate the rights that our founders gave us.
Vivicate the rights. Well, to keep you from vivisecting children, I think.
One thing that
with a gun you view as a toy that you give as a plaything to your kid who isn't mature enough to own it.
I think is just so important in this battle is educating people on the actual purpose of the Second Amendment.
That's right. Tell them, what's it for? Tell them it's to regulate a militia?
It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me when I hear liberals say, well, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. Now, those people clearly have never been hog hunting in Texas, but leave that
Neither have you.
aside. The Second Amendment is not here for hunting. It is not here for personal protection. The purpose of the Second Amendment is so that, if necessary,
you can kill soldiers and cops.
The people of this country could maintain an armed rebellion against the government. Now,
right. That is the whole. Look at the round of applause.
You can like that. You can dislike that. You can.
No, it wasn't. It was not. It was actually because, to this point, to the well-regulated militia, it was so that the government could call it up in case King George tried to take the fucking place. It wasn't. It was. You were basically in lieu of a standing army, because they couldn't afford it at the time. Kings did it. They would create standing armies. The colonists couldn't afford it. So they created this idea like, you guys can have guns. We're going to make sure you can have them. We're not going to limit how much you can have because we might need to call you up if George or the King of Spain or some asshole comes over here and tries to take our country. That's the well-regulated militia part. Not so you can blow apart your own fucking government that you voted for.
You can argue for reformation of that, but that is what it means.
No, it isn't. It is not what it means. Like, beyond the fact that they always blow off the well-regulated militia part, the tyrannical government they were talking about wasn't their own.
I think that the first thing we've got to do to protect our rights is to understand why they exist in the first place.
Right, so you can kill cops and soldiers. We get it. Yeah, it's a, you know, and you need a hog-killing weapon to murder cops. Right, I get it.
If we did a better job of that, we would be having the debate on more equitable terms. But I do not.
So what about the well-regulated part you didn't like?
I believe that any community becomes more safe if you restrict the rights of the people who are following the law. The people who break the law are going to break the law.
Right. If you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns that were sold to them in the parking lot of a gun show.
And I don't think that those of us who want to follow the law should be left unarmed in those circumstances.
You don't have to be unarmed. But you should have a background check to make sure that's really comprehensive so that we know that you're not really, whether you're a dude who's worried about his safety or a guy who's been stalking his ex-girlfriend, has beat her several times, has threatened her life, and is planning on opening fire on her and her entire family. Thanks, Diana.
I can tell you that my sweet mother here has recently become a gun owner, and she is an excellent shot.
As you can see from my limp.
Yes, sir.
All this is good. You talked about a constitutional convention, but where's the accountability in the now?
Yeah, where's the accountability? Trump won. Don't you understand?
We have laws that say this is what the immigration law is presently. Where's the accountability for those who are violating it up to the...
They're not. There is accountability. Most people get turned away. People who have asylum, you know, just because they snuck across the border, if they process their asylum claim, that's in the law. It's in international law and our own law. Just because you don't know the law, or if the law indeed exists, means the law is being broken because you don't like what's going on.
Yeah, the question is, well, when people are breaking the existing law, what is the mechanism by which we hold them to account? And you specifically referenced the border. Well, I mean, here was the problem when we had control. We had unified control of the government. When you all sent me to Washington, we had the House, we had the Senate, we had the presidency.
Did you pass a comprehensive immigration bill to solve most of these problems?
We could have taken the asylum reforms that Trump championed, and we could have put them in law. But Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan wouldn't fight for them. So Trump had to do it by himself. He had to do it by executive order. And the frailty with that is that the next president, with just the stroke of a pen, can reverse it. And
so what he's telling you is that there isn't a law.
That's exactly what Joe Biden did. And so when they reinstitute catch and release, they don't break the law. They are the law. One thing that's troubling...
Yeah, that's what Biden said yesterday. I am the law. He stuttered a little bit, but it was...
me, though, is the conduct of the Biden family. You know,
Thank you,
there
Aggie.
was a recent report, very credible, that when Hunter Biden was engaged in potentially a gun crime, the Secret Service went by...
Potentially a gun crime. His sister-in-law, I think, threw his gun away because she was worried about him endangering himself because he was using drugs. So she threw it away in a big dumpster. And they came back, and the next day it was gone. And a homeless guy who roots through the garbage there found it. And when he saw people walking around looking at the thing, he's like, they probably want the gun I found. And he brought it back to them. A potential gun crime.
Behind them and cleaned it all up. Now,
They didn't clean it all up. I just told you what it was.
I think Donald Trump probably regrets having Michael Cohen as a fixer, but he never used the Secret Service as a fixer.
The Secret Service didn't fix it. They looked into it because it was the vice president's son and there was a gun involved.
And more the Biden family seems to believe that the Secret Service, the Department of Justice, that they're all there to cover up their crimes. And
right. Yes. This isn't projection, by the way.
To target the people that criticize them.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what's happening. Biden and his son they're targeting Matt Gaetz because he criticized them.
And, you know, I've spent a lot of my time in Congress doing oversight of the Department of Justice, and it's like they're the Department of Injustice.
Oh, it's terrible. So while Trump was in office, And while they started an inquiry into you, it's the Department of Injustice.
More often than not. And like,
no, it isn't. Honest to God, look, hyperbole, I get it to some degree, but don't be a fucking asshole. The Department of Justice and the FBI and they're 80% of the time they're tracking down the most heinous motherfuckers that exist in the world. Like all issues with like local cops being assholes, or how the FBI was run under Hoover, or historic, inequalities and stuff that happened right now, currently. Most of those, or the FBI and the DOJ, are incredibly diverse organizations, and within the structure of what they do, they spend most of their time going after awful people. You just don't give a shit, because if those people are running around killing people, or serial killers are crossing borders and, burying people in the yard, who gives a shit? You just want them to leave you alone so you can fuck a 17-year-old across state lines.
In Washington, I think most people get that the agencies of government, they want to become more powerful.
No, they want to become more effective. And reach, it comes with effectiveness. Power means nothing. You're talking about force. When you say power, what you mean is force, not competency or capability. The vast majority of, even the most egregious overreach from governmental organizations, and I hate to tell you guys this, comes from cases that they wish they had certain information or capabilities when a bunch of people got killed. Look, they were waiting around for the Patriot Act because there's some people who want to control certain things, but even those people go back to a time when they were, all right, look at that. All of them go back to a time when, if we'd have just had phone records at that time, if we'd have been able to subpoena cell phone records, we'd have been able to find that child. Motang! Right? This is like the whole thing about the crime bill. The crime bill's not the reason why a lot of people are in jail. The reason that there's a lot of people in jail now is because of VICAP and the fingerprint system going nationwide. Shut the fuck up. It's because time moves forward. Once we started being able to track people's fingerprints, and local cops could check someone's fingerprints and go, oh shit, this guy didn't just try to break in a window, it's not a B&E. This asshole murdered 4 people and raped 6 women in 3 other states. We caught this guy trying to he was attempting to rob, rape, or murder. He wasn't just a guy telling us whatever story and whatever name he makes up this afternoon. So the same thing is true of this. The egregious overreach of the FBI at times, and this even with the CIA. The reality is you got human beings, because if you believe people are like that, if they're that in mass, I don't mean that there aren't individuals throughout there who aren't sociopathic and find their way to it, but if you believe that the vast majority of the people working in the Department of Justice, or the vast majority of the people working in the FBI, or even the CIA, are cold-hearted monsters who just want to dream up ways of creating new genocides, I think a moment of introspection might be called for. And that's the whole, we need to fight back against a tyrannical government, and that means killing our own cops and soldiers, is the projection, because these assholes know they're engaged in a bunch of hinky shit. And they also know that they're armed to the fucking teeth. Back to G. Gordon Liddy, who just recently said, if these jackbooted thugs from the ATF come into your door, you shoot them in the head. For freedom. And all bad calls aside and SWAT calls aside, where people get swatted, which is this much of police and FBI and ATF interaction with human beings. It's this much. This much of it is some horrible shit. At some point, I just need to I'll do 9 videos in a row of people who shot cops, when they were trying to interact with them. And then, the people who found that, that serial killer they caught that had that woman chained in a fucking, shipping container in his backyard. That's what they do most of the time. Most of the time, the DOJ and the FBI and all these groups are going after those people. And so for this asshole to come up there and say, most of the time they're the Injustice Department is just fucking lame. It's beyond, it's offensive and stupid, but it's also just pathetic.
There's no person that's like a deputy secretary of a Washington agency that wakes up and says, I really hope my agency has less authority and less power tomorrow. They all want.
Yeah, somebody who's like, I don't know, in charge of, finding missing kids, and they haven't found some kid. And they go, if we just had some way of tracking, or like Amber Alerts, if we'd only had this when this kid went missing, we'd be able to find him by now. Maybe there's a version of that we could do it. Like, that's how they wake up. It's not power for power's sake. It's fucking dumb.
They all want more. And so how do you grow power? Well, you help your friends and you punish your enemies.
Dude, you had a buddy who was in literally, he knows at this point, by the way, that the DOJ knows that his buddy made him a fake ID.
And like, if you're at the Department of Labor...
And the same dude made fake IDs for girls, for children, so they could take them out of state. And right now we're thinking, oh, take them out of state. What, drive them to Georgia? No, we're talking Epstein Island level shit.
That's scary enough. But if you've got a gun and a badge at the FBI or the Department of Justice, it's even more troubling.
It's why? Why would it be even more troubling? Seriously, what the fuck do these guys think the FBI and the DOJ is up to day after day after day? Do they think it's still like this Hoover, like McCarthy era, like we've just got to find a way to get the vegans? This is so... seriously. All conversations about real justice reform and real, dealing with like nonviolent drug offenders and, the legalization of pot and those kind of things, which are valuable and are happening and moving forward, that were a factor of time. All that aside, okay, many of you guys know my cousin is a U.S. Marshal. And he is currently... looking for a guy named Lester Eubanks. And recently, because of the actions of my cousin, and because that case was stalled, they think he's living in the LA area, and they're looking for him there. My cousin has been in the area looking for this dude because they tracked a lot of this information down. He spent the last 2 years since he got this case grinding on this fucker, this guy raped a girl, shot her, left in an alley, in an abandoned lot, basically a vacant lot behind a building, while she went to get changed to do the wash, like to go to the laundromat at night. He raped her, he shot her, he was worried, he got blocks away, he was worried that she wasn't dead because he thought she was making noise, and he came back and caved her head in with a cinder block. I get so angry when I think about this bastard. And then he went home, had a shower, and went dancing. He was arrested. He was arrested for the crime. He was caught. And when he was caught, they had the death penalty in Ohio, and he confessed. And they had evidence. They had the gun, they had the cinder block, they had his fingerprints, they had his bodily fluids and his blood type, and he admitted to it. He knew he was caught, and he got the death penalty. But at one point, they overturned the death penalty. Was declared cruel and unusual punishment, so he got his death penalty sentence transmuted to life without parole. So at one point, he was allowed to go Christmas shopping. Yeah, you heard that right. Unaccompanied in a mall in Ohio for 2 hours. Meet back here, like it was a fucking school trip. And he disappeared, and he's been gone since 1973. A child rapist, murderer, on the run. And multiple detectives and multiple groups of marshals have woke up every fucking morning since 1973 trying to find this bastard and put him back in jail. Because there is no way somebody like this didn't reoffend. It's not fucking possible that he doesn't have other victims in his wake when he's using a fake name. And his, he had a family member in LA who was protecting him, it seems. He's been on the run this whole time, living off the grid, essentially. And the crime he committed is on a level of vicious that I don't think any of us can truly comprehend. And so when Matt Gaetz says that every morning people in the FBI wake up, or people in the DOJ wake up, and they just try to seek more power, I know for a fact that my family member, when he wakes up, since he's had this fucking case, he wakes up, tries to have a normal family life, have some breakfast, go to the gym, go to the office, try to keep some level of normalcy. But every day he's grinding on the fact that this guy is out there. And there are hundreds of marshals and FBI agents, male and female, of all different races, who are all doing the same fucking thing every goddamn day. And it makes your skin hot when you lay in bed knowing you've got to fall asleep so you can get up tomorrow, but it's nighttime and this son of a bitch is out there doing something. So this whole we can't regulate guns because a tyrannical government and the DOJ and the FBI are just punishing mechanisms for the political power, when indeed that's all Matt Gaetz wants out of this situation. He wishes that's what it was. He was begging Trump and everyone, they were trying to get rid of it. They thought they could, make it go away because they were in control. Most people are genuinely good and try very hard. And even in the failures morally, ethically, and even criminally that they have over the course of their lives possibly, they still try to, within the context of that, do their best. The vast majority of people. And I'm sorry to bum you out, but that goes for cops, people in the government, grocery store clerks, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, people doing everything. Choosing a job because they think they can help. And the people who, quote unquote, seek more power, the vast majority of them that he's talking about, the reason they want that power is because they believe if they had a little more reach, at some point, they could save the next person. And that, that's enough on that right now. But that just fucking pisses me off. And the fact that this geek can talk like this when he knows he's under investigation for trafficking a child, when he knows his buddy who's under indictment and in jail now for trafficking children, for providing them with fake IDs, providing them with drugs, introducing them to other adult men. His buddy is in jail while during this speech. And that he would say that about the FBI and the DOJ and the majority of people who work there and the whole organization as a whole being some sort of weaponized injustice machine. Matt Gaetz on almost every level can go fuck himself.
And before anybody labels me a conspiracy theorist...
You're not a conspiracy theorist. You're a criminal who's laying cover for yourself.
They tried to do that when y'all first elected me. I was the first member of Congress to call the Mueller investigation a total sham and to call for it to be disbanded. And now we see how fake it all was.
It wasn't fake. It wasn't. If Rod Rosenstein hadn't run interference and used the power he's talking about to stop the good people on the Mueller investigation and in the DOJ from looking into criminality, not planting evidence, not forcing people in, not finding a patsy, running interference in an investigation to stop people, good people, from doing their job. Which, why would he have to do that if the fucking DOJ is all just a power trip, right?
The FBI had a lawyer literally changing evidence to try to, entrap...
No, oh, you mean Carter Page? To make it less likely that they would continue his FISA warrant, you fuck?
Or incarcerate people who are close to Trump.
No, he had a FISA warrant. The guy who changed it, the modification he did, made it less likely that they would continue the FISA warrant. And it was still factually true.
Hoping that that would create pressure on them to tell lies and ultimately destabilize our country and the presidency. So just...
Yeah, that was the goal of the Mueller investigation, was to destabilize our country.
Because these folks in Washington, D.C. have fancy...
You work in Washington, D.C. These folks are half of your party. And all last year and the 3 years before that, it was your dude. You guys all ran this shit. Stop talking about D.C. like it's a fucking foreign country. This is really aggravating. I'm clearly worked up. 4 hours of sleep, will do this to you. But can we stop? Can we stop for a second acting like there's some sort of hometown hokey doke local thing going on, and that Washington, D.C. is in fucking outer space or in the basement of the UN. It's our people. They represent us. If they don't do a good job, you replace them, and we fight back and forth between the two major parties. It's not complicated. But stop pretending like we're being run by this, George Soros super Jew sock puppets.
Fancy titles and work for entities that we view as credible and august. You cannot always believe them because they're just like everyone else. They want more power and they're willing to cheat to get it.
All right, so again, projection. What am I telling you? This is the projection wars. What am I telling you about people in general? I mean, you could argue that I'm projecting, right? I think people are basically good. I view myself as basically good. Every time, even within my own ethical, moral, and criminal failings, whatever they've been over the course of my life, they fall within me doing the best I could and wanting to move past that and overtake those limits and weaknesses and gaps in my own personality and my own ethics or what have you. What's this guy's take on everybody else? All they care about is power, and they're willing to cheat to win. God damn.
Yes, ma'am.
When does Trump come back? Good stuff.
These questions would be answered if we had a rightful, chosen, elected president. Biden is not our president.
Well,
he's not our president.
He is the president. Joe Biden is the president, and I know every day because I'm not welcome in the Oval Office anymore. So that's how I know there's a different occupant there, because I used to spend a lot of time there on your behalf.
Ouch.
The question is, when is Donald Trump coming back?
April 1st.
April 1st.
Hope that he is the Republican nominee in 2024 for president.
My thing
I
freeze.
hope he runs again, and if he does, I'll vote for him. And I'll endorse him, and I'll campaign for him. But Donald Trump will not be president a day before January of 2025. Yes, sir. Thank you for asking this question. I'm
What are these bars coming down around the White House?
sick and tired of the United States Capitol being like the new forever war.
This is the day before the guy drove into the gate and killed another Capitol cop.
It's like an occupied city up in Washington, D.C., and I resent it because you got politicians that are using our guardsmen and women as political props.
Apparently not.
And it's insulting, and it's hurting communities, and really it's hurting the Guard at large, because there's actually really important work that the Guard's supposed to be doing, whether it's vaccine distribution, disaster response. Frankly, we probably need the Guard to put down some of the civil unrest that is still happening in some parts.
To put down the civil unrest. I see. So the tyrannical government. So if, let's say, the Guard is sent to put down civil unrest, wouldn't if there's law-abiding gun owners in there, wouldn't it be the entire purpose of the Second Amendment for those people to kill the National Guard, you psychopath?
Some parts of the country, but we do not need the National Guard in Washington, D.C., and we do not need a U.S. Capitol.
Here, hold on one second. I'll be right back, guys. Give me a second. I'm back. Hold on. There I am. Hi. Sorry. Okay. My computer was starting to heat up. So I may have to cool it off. But we're almost done. So I got to get back to shooting. So
Capitol that is wrapped in barbed wire and crisscrossed in barricades. I've seen the intelligence reports. There is no intelligence that justifies the current force posture in Washington, D.C.
No.
And you know what? I'm glad that our governor, Ron DeSantis, said we're not playing this game anymore. He recalled the Florida Guard back home, and a bunch of other Republican governors followed his lead. And ultimately, that's going to be what we have to do.
I see. So they if they'd have been there, maybe we would have been able to stop that car before it ran into 2 Capitol police officers. Oh, sorry, I didn't open up the other page.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that recently another congressman put out a letter to request the end of the Federal Department of Education. What do you think?
End the Department of Education.
The chances of that happening are?
I am one of 3 co-sponsors of legislation to abolish the Federal Department of Education. I do not know a single teacher in America who wakes up and says, thank goodness there is someone at the Federal Department of Education creating paperwork for me to do.
Is that what they do? Is that what they're for?
The Federal Department of Education is an 8-story building that encompasses an entire city block.
Right. And in a country of 340 million people with the biggest economy in the world that is educating the workers of the future who are going to be dealing with the highest level as far as jobs go, technologically speaking, well.
In Washington, D.C., people go in and out of it every day, and not one of them educates a child.
So 911 operators aren't, why do they need to be there? They're not cops.
Not one of them assists a principal. Not one of them is there ensuring that we've got additional school nurses or mental health professionals.
Yeah, they are. They direct funding and support
For our students. They create paperwork so they can then leave government service and consult on how to comply with the crazy paperwork that they've created. I would abolish the entity, I would rent it out as commercial office space, and I would give all the power of education back to the states and to our local communities, because that is what the Constitution requires. That's
No, it doesn't.
not like my personal preference alone. There is no constitutional role for the federal government in education.
Provide for the general welfare. Literacy, the basic ability to understand history and topics. Of course it's covered in there.
And so I would just get rid of it.
Yeah, because you can't actually operate a functioning, sector of government, so you can't have it existing to show what an asshole you are.
Yes, sir. Oh, great point. Yeah, the gentleman raises the point of the Nancy Pelosi effort to literally steal a congressional seat. Marionette Miller Meeks won an election in Iowa. It was certified, and now they want to get rid of her. And they're dead serious about this, by the way. By the way, here's just how I'll put it. Nothing
tell it.
should be off the table. For the Republicans, if Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats simply try to expand their power because they can. But, doesn't it feel to you like sometimes they fight harder than we do? That's what gets me. When they have power, they'll do anything to maximize that power and to shape the country in their vision. Remember when COVID first happened and one of the Democrat leaders, Jim Clyburn, their whip, said, we have to use this as an opportunity to remake the country in our liberal view. Whereas, as
Is that what he said?
Republicans, we're always trying to play patty cake with a rabid pack of wolves up there.
Yeah, it's a great.
And so what I try to do personally is I try to inspire more of the Republicans to have a little fight in them. And
Yeah. I mean, no policies or solutions, but have a little fight.
it's hard because when you act like
I said Clyburn said it. It's garbage.
I do, when you say the things I say, when you are unchained and unbridled, then they come.
You're about to be bridled, I think. Don't you have a bride now?
And, folks say, well, gee, Gaetz, you represent the Florida Panhandle. I can't do all that because, maybe my district's a little more purple. And so I try to be an example on how to actually take the fight to the other side. And in this particular case, I don't want to detail out the whole strategy, but I don't think anything should be off the table.
So, basically anything, cheat, anything to take back power. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Bills regarding veterans and service members often don't get their own dignity. They're not voted on individually. What happens is they either make it or fail to make it into our yearly National Defense Authorization Act. And so what we try to do as members of the committee is assign our name to those bills through co-sponsorship to try to get them into those big bills. And so we'll... Yes, turns out Washington doesn't move very quickly. And this is an interesting...
Since 2003, does the guy not know that Trump passed the Obama VA Choice Act in 2014?
I did not really learn until recently. If you're a Republican, it's very hard to get on the Armed Services Committee because a lot of Republicans want to be on the committee because we want to do right by our military and our veterans and our service members. The Democrats oftentimes have a hard time even filling their slots on the Armed Services Committee because their members want to be on the Education and Labor Committee because they want to go sell out to the unions, right? That's
right, and you guys want to sell out to people who want to shoot soldiers and cops.
They get their bread buttered. And so it is going to be harder now.
Get their bread buttered,
now than during Republican.
So because you're in a military district and guys like that are asking you questions all the time, you wanted to be on the
control to get big things done in the National Defense Authorization Act because that's not really where the Democrats want big things to happen. They want big things to happen to erode the integrity of the vote. They want gun control. Exactly, the centralization of political power in H.R. 1. And so
the centralization of political power in H.R. 1. That whole giving everybody a life preserver. It's just, it's just a way to stop people from swimming.
I would be less ambitious about those bills this year than in prior years.
Why? Obama passed the VA Choice Act.
Yes, sir. Right. This
is the people who, everybody wants to, there's so much power trying to stop fossil fuels, and then in Texas, they didn't have fossil fuels to keep themselves warm.
The question is about sort of the forever war on fossil fuels and the Biden administration's efforts. I think, sir, you might have been referencing the Keystone Pipeline cancellation, which was just nonsense. It feels like with the Biden government, it's all...
Sorry, does the shale oil through that go to Texas at all? No, it doesn't.
All about...
Does that guy know that? No, he doesn't.
Virtue signaling.
Is Matt Gaetz going to tell him that? No, he won't.
It's all about, we did this to please a particular group, not...
No. Yeah, the people who want clean drinking water?
Necessarily.
Who don't want toluene and benzene in their soil?
Really, because it was the best thing for the country. And the gentleman, I think, correctly pointed out that there are real consequences when we do these things with life or death, with people who are unable to get what they need, and in this case, energy, to keep them warm. Yeah, people died. And
yeah, they're not on the same grid as anyone else. And the Keystone Pipeline isn't... You'd buy it on the open market, just like anything else. It's like buying it from Venezuela. What's the difference?
I think the question was, why aren't there...
Why are you buying socialist shale oil from a country that you view as evil?
Enough of us to sort of push back against that. And where I think we need more courage is in the Republican caucus in the Senate.
That's right. They are weak and stupid. That's true.
Because senators have the power to approve or not approve the nominees that the Biden administration puts forward. And frankly, we should be holding Joe Manchin's feet to the fire if there are people who want to make energy more expensive and who want to make our country weaker as a consequence. We need all the Republicans to hang together, and then we need to pick off a Democrat or two from states where energy actually matters to people.
What do you mean, coal?
Price of gas right now. It's already going up to $3.
Hey, listen, you have nothing to complain about the price of gas in Florida. My fiance is from California. I think you have to sell a kidney on the black market to fill your car up with gasoline.
That is so hilarious. That's so true.
In some of those places. So
it's really, I mean, you did. I still have the scar from that one road trip I took up to Napa.
At least in Florida, I think we've got a more common sense approach. Casper.
If Governor DeSantis has opened the state of Florida, why have I got to go online or sit on hold for 30, 40 minutes, an hour, just to get an appointment to go in a tag office and renew my tag? When are they going to open up the state office?
Yeah, so
that's a state issue. He's your congressman. Maybe you have a habit of standing in the wrong line for the wrong
question is
thing.
about opening up some of the municipal and county service offices. We don't make those decisions in Tallahassee.
I know you
we
don't.
make them locally here. So I'll give you the number of my good friend Ben Anderson, the tax collector, who I love.
Oh.
Why
you hang out with the tax collectors? Why is it that guy's fucking job to turn on the DMV or whatever?
Recently, if you were in the Niceville,
yeah, Matt keeps doing a wallet check or a phone check. You don't want to drop a phone like that and have somebody pick it up.
tax collector's office on last Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. You may have seen me there waiting for my appointment.
Yeah, why can't we get it open?
I think you need to call the tax collector.
We
Casper.
have.
You strike me as very persuasive, and after 30 or 45 minutes, you may speak to him. Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, what's the secret? How did you raise her so right?
My mother was part of the John Birch Society. You just walked into that rake, didn't you, dumbass? So I go way back. The John Birch Society. That's very important. The wonderful thing. The John Birch Society. Here you go. Let's break this down. For those of you who don't know, the JBS is an American political advocacy group supporting anti-communism and limited governance, is described as a radical and far-right organization. Robert Welch started it in 1958 with William Buckley, originally based in Belmont, Massachusetts. John Birch Society now headquartered in Grand Chute, Wisconsin, outside of Appleton. Local chapters throughout the United States, when New American supports limited government, opposes wealth redistribution, mainly in the form of giving money to welfare recipients of a certain color. It opposes collectivism, that's very Ayn Randian language, totalitarianism, unless they're in charge, anarchism, because if you can find them all in one place, and communism, of course, we can all agree on that. It opposes socialism as well, which it asserts is infiltrating U.S. government administration. In a 1983 edition of the political debate television program Crossfire, William F. Buckley, talking very quietly with Larry McDonald. Then the Society's new appointed characterized as belonging to the old right after the new right. He was opposed the 1960s civil rights movement and claimed the movement had communists in important positions. The civil rights movement. This was their point of concern. So if you want to know who the John Birch Society is, that even a Republican congressman like him, when she said, "I'm part of," he goes, "You did it right. You raised her right." Well, I was raised in the Birch Society. That's got to send like flop sweat down your back.
Well, we've now found the it's taken us, about an hour of our town hall, but the secret to saving America: strong mothers. And
who belong to the John Birch Society.
Oh, listen, I remember when I first ran for this job, I was running against the guy who said, "You can't vote for Matt Gaetz because he's a mama's boy." Which is no, I mean, obviously, he's more of a pedophile. Totally true. I'm proud of it, and I love all the mamas and all the mama's boys that are out there.
It's a very weird sentence. Yeah, he was a daughter's boy.
Let's see, ma'am, go right ahead. We'll do one more question.
She's saying, explain to me how the House can impeach Trump on doctored evidence.
The question is, how can the House of Representatives impeach a president on faulty evidence, doctored evidence, fake evidence?
What's the allegation, that it was doctored?
And then there's no real accountability. Well, there are a whole lot of Democrats who voted for that impeachment who lost elections. You saw that Democrat majority really shrunk down, and I think the reason is because folks out in the country rightfully said, well, gosh, like, while you were doing all this stuff with impeachment, what were you doing for me?
No.
And I
most of them lost it because of the attribution of both socialism and defund the police that dogged them in mixed districts.
Honestly,
yeah, he means the taped phone calls and the of course, the version of the call that Trump put out that he said was perfect, which actually incriminated him, which was not even a full transcript.
Struggled with how much of my own day was dedicated to impeachment. I didn't run to be your congressman because I wanted to go be an impeachment defense lawyer for Donald Trump. I ran because I wanted to fight for our military mission, our environment, our way of life, a better economy, lower taxes, regulations that were right-sized for our lives. But so much of my effort was consumed.
Because if you think of Matt Gaetz, you think of right-sized regulations.
In this, but I just thought, well, if I don't do it, then, you saw what some of the other Republicans did. We needed to fight for it. And so the accountability is not one that politicians will ever visit on one another. It's something the people have to visit onto the politicians. If folks aren't fighting for you, and in the case of a lot of these other districts, people felt that way, they make a change and vote for someone else.
Left and right, but I've yet to see one Democrat go on the chopping block.
I've yet to see one Democrat go on the chopping block.
Well, and that there is sometimes a bloodlust for that vengeance that I feel. Sometimes you just sit there and think, man, the double standard, and if they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all at times. And you think, well, gosh, they've wronged me, and so I owe them, a little return fire. And I worry about our country if that is the sole dynamic. They violated the law. And the spirit of the law.
The spirit of
and the rule of law with these phony impeachments. And I don't want to be in the phony impeachment game. I want to be in the better ideas game. I want to be in the strong.
Right, that's why you've written so many bills.
Country game, and I want to advocate for the policies that actually bring us together. And that is really the secret of the Trump movement that the media never understood. The Trump movement wasn't different for men and women. It wasn't different for people of different races or different geographies or
the experience was
different religions.
Yeah, most men didn't have to, they're like, hey, if I get to meet Trump, I hope he grabs me by the genitals too.
It was an invitation to everyone. Make America great again. Let's be a stronger country for everyone.
Yeah, once we get rid of some of these folks.
So, I don't want to give them the satisfaction of focusing too much on them. They suffered from Trump derangement syndrome, and their party, I think, is weaker as a consequence. And while Donald Trump is not in the White House anymore, they're...
Yeah, you're really upsetting like 4 people right over there and the people in the back.
There are people who still believe in these policies.
There are people who believe that he's in the White House.
For them. And by the way, he does too. I still talk to the former president a great deal, and he has
not. It's funny. The phone calls have kind of dried up.
Dialed out one bit. He is still every bit as engaged as ever, and I believe there will be a rebirth of our America First movement, that we will be stronger than ever, and that we will be the patriots that deliver victory for another American century.
And if we don't, we can always just shoot cops and soldiers who try to take our revenue or land or something.
Thank you all so much for coming out.
This will be my last town hall before I am shamed into silence and have to write an op-ed to protect myself because everybody else is brooming any mention of me from their timelines. Yeah, it's a parking lot. I think he's in Tallahassee. I'm pretty sure he's in Tallahassee. Let's see. He was in Niceville, Florida. Same general ballpark though. Yeah, this is fun. This is Forbes. On Monday, Rep. Matt Gaetz spoke to constituents in Niceville, Florida, railing about critical race theory and slamming the Biden administration. The next day, reports emerged that the Justice Department was investigating him. Oh, he would have just think he'd be hearkening back to be asking QAnon bits online. Now, before I go, please allow me a moment of indulgence. I don't know if anybody's been watching the Q documentary on HBO. Has anybody in the chat watched that? Just to I'll wait for the chat to come forward. Yeah. See if. Hold on, I'm scrolling through my feed so that I can find it. You guys, a little while ago, I was, I posted it's January, end of January. Let's see, where is it? I'll find it. I have to scroll back through because I was on a tweeting storm earlier today. Where is it? Okay. I basically called out who who in my looking into stuff was Q. It's this guy, Jim Watkins, and his son Ron, and they both run it together. And when I was doing the, when I was looking into it and doing all these videos about all this shit, here you go. Yeah, now I found it. I posted this in January, January 31st, 10:41 in the morning, to be exact. This is Jim Watkins, and this is his son, Ron Watkins. These guys both run 8chan and 8kun, where the Q posts moved to after they were on 4chan. Now, on 4chan, they more than likely started as some rando control point that either he started and they were just kind of using it as a mess around to kind of promote Trump and pretend he was somebody important. But once and then people broke into it. The password for the Q account on 4chan was Matlock. And in kind of catching that's, how it moved, like a lot of people started posting bullshit Qs and they had to have people sift through it. And there were all the bakers, the people who try to interpret all the Q posts for everybody, were having a hell of a time because there were, people were punking it. They could all get in. And so there was a period where there was a lot of fake posts. And then it, because of some issues on 4chan and the like, they moved to 8chan. Once it moved to 8chan, either by him taking it over officially, like it was him and some other people, like 5 people, and they were all doing it together, and he was like, I'll take it over, just it's coming this way. Jim and his son Ron ran the account. Now, a while back, I was looking through who this is, and of course, this is Jim, and this is his son Ron's Parler account, and he said he got pissed at one point. And let's see if I can scroll this down. I got it. Okay, I'll just shrink it down. Ron got angry with his dad at one point and posted this. It says, "I'm burnt. Can't say much more. Meet me on 8kun in 2 hours /News Plus / that group. Yes, Jim has posted his Q before. Fuck you, Dad." So he was having a rough day with his dad. They were both doing this, and he outed his dad as the one who's doing the main posting, and that they've done it back and forth. That they basically made this shit up. And as they took over it, they just, and I have no doubt they were talking to Mike Flynn. They were talking to, going, yeah, because those guys, here's what happens. Steve Bannon and others were calling these guys and saying, oh, Q's posting on your board, right? And do you know who it is? And they would go, yeah, we got a general idea. Well, pass this on for me. And so they would coordinate stuff on a very low end. They'd go, yeah, he's going to say this, or the board, I know that, he posted something. He'd love the president to do a kind of tip of the hat and mention something. And they would work that shit in. Yeah. And so, yes, and Mike Flynn has been making money off it. So between the two of them, yeah, the expensive pens were the giveaway in the video if you've been watching this. Bannon's not behind it. He was just talking to these assholes, and these assholes, kind of semi-coordinated. But that's him. That's who's been posting. And again, multiple people have posted his Q, but he's been running it. When it moved to 8chan and 8kun, it went into overdrive and became, the real mythology you now know. Because it got stirred up and fucked up when people were shit posting in it. So once it moved over, that's the one. If you have a relative who follows Q, they're following these two assholes. This guy and his son posting and coordinating some of those posts with people close to the White House, like Roger Stone and others, who they would talk to and go, yeah, he posts here. If you want me to pass on a message, I can. And those assholes either do or don't know stuff about how the running of those boards work, so they can send, I can send him secret messages, even though he's really talking to him. And then they would just coordinate some of the stuff so that they could guarantee that some stuff would work out. It didn't always work out, so that's the half of them were planted. They'd plant some shit when people were like, none of the shit you say turns out. And so they would plant some stuff to make it do that way. That would be the interaction. It's not Wano Savin, no. Wano Savin's just a complete sideline fraudster. Like, it's just goofy bullshit. No connection to anything whatsoever. Just a bunch of dudes blowing each other, metaphorically. But that's who it is. Ron Watkins and Jim are the people who run. No, Q has not posted in a long while because the two of them aren't gonna. It would become increasingly obvious because they lost that connection too. Like they got cut off from the White House, and now they can't use Trump to parrot what they're doing. If there was a way they could, contact Trump's office and maybe start some of this shit up again, they probably would. But Trump's a little spun. Yeah, HBO has a series called The Storm. Yeah, that's about that. But this is ridiculous. It's always been ridiculous. It's always been a LARP. It's always been bullshit. The character was always fake. They were always messing with people. It was like his son is capable of making chatbots that are self-enforcing. So more than likely, after a while, fed in the code arrangement of how the most of the language would go, and then let it look for stuff on itself, and then feed back into itself. And then anything that came out that was good, he would post it manually. More than likely. So anyways, just saying, that whole HBO documentary where everybody's like, dun, 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 it's them. Just saying right again. I'm just saying, I you know me, I never want to waste your time. I all through the election, totally right on the money. All through the impeachments and stuff, when people were asking me, always right on the money. Not because not because I have some sort of inside line, because I pay attention, I read, and I'm fucking smart. I wouldn't waste your time if I wasn't. It's not a brag, not a joke. But that's him, and that was my prediction. And yeah, the important thing about that show, as far as, you know, like for just enjoying watching it, is watching the actual Q fans who are complete assholes. I mean, these people are deluded dickheads. I'm not going to do Bobcat today because I'm already doing it for the show this weekend. But, you know, I called this stuff out before. I was like, that. Of course that's who it is. And then they do this whole documentary and everybody's like, look at this. This is the moment when they knew it was right. I'm like, just saying. Can you, you know, like I say, it's not gonna, like, I'm not gonna be wrong about shit in the future, but if it matters, I'm gonna look into it before I talk out of my ass. So, there you go. Thank you. I appreciate that, Melody. So thank you guys. And I just wanted to, you know, because some people are posting this. Hal Sparks, everyone. After everyone's watched Q Into the Storm. Yeah. Just saying. So, if you know, I might not always tell you what you want to hear, but I'll do my best to make sure that what I do tell you is worth your time. So, and again, thank you guys for your time today. Thank you for your support. Thank you to our new patrons, and thanks to everybody for the super chats today and hanging out. And I will see you guys later. This was supposed to be a shorter show. I got to go shoot stuff. I got sketches to make, man. I'm just saying, if you stayed to the end, this is going to make it into the show. Just saying. I just flashed you a gag. Be well, and I will see you guys later. Okay, bye. Thank you, Diana.